Just for everyone out there, can you introduce yourself and let them know that what it is that you do?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Sherzat, and I'm a software engineer at Google. Yeah, so I moved here about 8.5 years ago for my undergrad, right after high school. Yeah, so I've been here for 8.5 years, roughly.
So, where were you living before that?
Before that, I lived in Kazakhstan in Almaty, but I was born in Uzbekistan. So there's a
Oh, so
small.
you were born. I see. So you were born in Uzbekistan, and then you were raised in Kazakhstan, and then you moved to the U.S. about 8 years ago for your undergrad.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So you said you were a software engineer at Google. When did you start getting into software engineering or
Um,
programming?
Well, so I started programming when I think I was 13. That was in high school slash middle school. Um, so yeah, I started programming when I was in eighth grade, and I was participating in lots of like computer science, programming competitions, um, like on a like national level, on like more regional level as well. Yeah, it was fun. So I was part of the small computer science club that we had in our school.
So you were always interested in computer science as a child.
Well, as lots of kids do, I really love playing computer games. So I had no idea what programming is. But when I've heard that it's something related to computer, I was like, I like computer games, so probably I'm gonna like that as well. What I didn't realize is that that's something really connected to like math and logic and all of that stuff. But I really like math, and I really liked it as a kid as well because my mom is math teacher also. Um, so yeah, it was just something that I could do, and I actually liked when I just started.
So you said your mom was a math teacher. Was she any like was she very helpful when it came to, learning how to code, learning how to do all these different things when it comes to computer science?
No, she doesn't know how to program at all.
Oh, she
Um,
doesn't.
yeah, but she did help me with math at some point. Like I switched schools, and I was. She thought that our school program was lagging behind the general population school, so she kind of helped me to get to the level that she thought I should be in terms
So
of math. But that helped a lot in
yeah,
general.
that probably helped you get to a basic understanding of what you guys were going to be doing in like your program, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I was gonna say that yeah, it's just like it's based on the logic. Like programming is a certain way of thinking, and once you get that, once you're exposed to like one programming language, then figuring out all other programming languages is fairly trivial. It's just the way how you write things and express your instructions to the computer in a different way.
I'm sure a lot of students who are probably going to pursue this path that you've also pursued as well would find it helpful if you had any tips. Do you have any tips that you could give to anyone who's going to go for this career path, or anything that you've learned on the way that nobody told you before?
I think for this industry, for programming and being like a software engineer, a developer, what really helps is having just an enormous amount of resources online, and a lot of them are free, and you can actually try things on your own, just if you have the computer and internet, and that's it. So I think that's what's different comparing to some other fields. So I think I'd say just be curious and don't hesitate to just like Google things. If you don't know how something works, just look it up. There's probably a useful explanation from someone.
When you say resources, you mean like maybe videos or like blogs of how to start coding or how to get into it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well. there are a lot of interactive programming platforms right now that you can start for free. Some of them are paid, for which you get like a better experience. A lot of them are gamified as well, so you feel like you're playing a game, but at the same time you're actually learning. But also a lot of the university courses are available online on the websites like Coursera, for example. MIT has I forgot the name of it, but basically they have lots of their courses recorded and available online for free.
Oh wow, that's going to be really helpful for anyone who's probably going to go into this industry. Thank you
Yeah,
for that.
I think it's called MIT Open Courseware. I might be wrong, but I think that was the name.
MIT. All right, so for anyone who's listening and who's interested, MIT OpenCourseware has free courses recorded. Is that correct for computer science?
Yeah, I think they have courses for lots of majors, including computer science.
That's really great. Um, so, what would you say were some of the driving forces that made you want to do what you're doing right now?
Mm,
Because you said like you were interested in playing games growing up, you liked playing video games, and so that's what kind of got you interested. But like you said, as you got into it, you saw that it was, math and logic. So what made you want to stay and continue this career path?
um, yeah, I think what made me stay is actually seeing how much you can do, and because all of the things that you're doing is sort of virtual, it makes you wonder, oh, if I can do this little thing in a short amount of time and I can learn how to do it, how do people, like, I don't know, write websites? How does this work? So you become curious about it, and then you start looking it up and you start learning. And now, for example, you've learned HTML and CSS, you know how, you know the basics, but then you're like, oh, but my page looks really basic. How do some websites have this fancy animations, for example? And then you wonder about that, and then you just keep questioning yourself about this type of questions, and then you realize that there are a lot of things that you can actually do. And I think most of it is uh, are the things that you'd use on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if you look on your phone, you use apps like Instagram, like WhatsApp, um, and then it makes you wonder, oh, someone actually built this. How does this work? Maybe I'll be able to create something myself as well one day. I guess that was my thinking when I was starting all of this. It was just fun.
So it's like sort of like yearning to learn more about it, to like once you accomplish one thing, you want to accomplish another.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was fun. Just in high school, those competitions, they were very competitive, and you're supposed to solve problems. And the faster you do it, the better it is. Um, so me and my friends, and we got to meet students from other cities as well. And then you know each other, and then you participate in those competitions. And sometimes you're located in one place, but sometimes you go on this website and you do the online competition, and you can see your friends, how many problems did they solve, and oh, this guy solved this problem, why couldn't I solve it? um, yeah, it was some competitiveness as well, I
The,
think.
com- the competitiveness as well drove you to.
Yeah,
But that's very interesting to have a competitiveness as like a driving force, because I feel like maybe some people they're not as competitive. So when it gets competitive, they get pressured and they want to drop out of things. But to have like a competitiveness kind of side to it can also be very beneficial.
yeah, I think it's a personality thing. I think it's totally okay not to have this competitive spirit, but I personally like it, and I like to have competition. um, and preferably I like to be first. uh, but it's I mean, it's totally okay not to be competitive, but this is something that drives me. And I personally like to put myself in a spot where I have to learn. Like I'm not as good at the moment comparing to other people, but just give me time and I'm going to figure it out. So that's what drives me, I guess. uh, that was driving me in school, and that's what's driving me right now at work as well.
So kind of like a challenge, if that makes sense.
Maybe I don't really like this word, but maybe,
Yeah.
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 Just like putting yourself in a situation where you're not really comfortable, so you're changing things, you're learning new skills just to make sure that now you're comfortable.
Mm. While you were growing up, you said you went to these different like competitions and like nationals where you competed, obviously. So while you were doing all that, was there like a little like competition, maybe like the yearning to learn more were like your driving forces? Did you have any like strong influencers or mentors growing up? And if they were, like who were they in your life?
um Probably it was, I went to the boarding school, and it was our tutor who was the first person who sort of guided us, and tried to get us on the right track initially, to learn the basic topics that we're supposed to know. And then the next year, one of the teachers, like one of the best teachers in computer science, was transferred to our school. So like he knew step by step how we're going to achieve this. So it was under his guidance. He never actually taught us the material, but he knew what are the resources that we're supposed to look at, like what are the problems that we're supposed to solve in order to be like really competitive. Yeah, all of this is, by the way, all of this is also called competitive programming. Like there's a term for this.
S- Like the competition wise, or like is it like a specific like program itself?
It's like the type, like this concept. It's called competitive programming. This is when there are problems and you're solving these problems, and you're
Oh,
supposed to be it's supposed to be a bug-free solution, but at the same time you're supposed to be fast, and you're only given a few hours to solve all of these problems. Yeah, there are competitions, many competitions, on the high school level and on the university level.
oh wow, I think that's
Yeah.
something new for me too. I mean, I've heard of like different types of programming, but I've never heard of like competitive programming. Well, that's also because I'm not a computer science major.
Yeah, and this
That's
is
really
very different from the actual job, like a day job. It's very different.
how would you say it's different? What would you do in it like a day job?
In a day job, first of all, there's no rush,
Mm-hmm.
because when there is a really uh, like extreme rush at work, you tend to make more errors, and you don't want to have bugs in your production code. So that's why you have to be really careful when you first design things. Like think how am I going to build this? Then you get feedback from your peers, from maybe more senior engineers, and once you get the green light, you go ahead and actually implement this. So write code, and then you write tests. So unit tests are just a way for you to ensure that the code that you've written is the correct one. Um, it's just different. Like uh, competitive programming is just like sort of a game, but actually building products is not a game. You have to ensure that whatever the code that you're writing, it has to be very readable. It has to be scalable, so that if the number of users goes from 10 to 100,000, that your code should be handling that usage as well. And also, if you're going to have a new engineer in your team, whenever they're going to come and contribute, you want them to feel productive from the very beginning. So that's why you want to have like a really maintainable code as well.
So you would say like competitive programming is more short term, and whereas like in the workplace it's longer term and like less
Yeah,
like of a
exactly.
timeline.
Hmm.
Okay, well, so when you moved from Kazakhstan to America, that was like a big move for you, I'm guessing. What was that like? What was that transitioning like for you from Kazakhstan to America?
Yeah, so I was 17 years old, and well, I got lucky in a way that I went to the school was was five classmates, so six of us from the same class in high school got into this university, and we all of us came together. So this made us feel less, I guess, lonely and more. It was just more fun. So the adaptation wasn't too bad. Uh, but yeah, I didn't know. I actually didn't know what to expect. I kind of wanted to expect something that I would see in the movies, which usually would be a Manhattan in New York.
Mhm.
But after arriving in Houston, I was like, oh no, this doesn't look like uh, movies at all. Where am I? Where am I? But yeah, you get used to things after a while.
Yeah, because I think one of the most things that people have trouble with when they do a big move is, like all of their friends or family are back home and they start to feel, like kind of maybe, I don't know if lonely would be a good term for it, but I know that a lot of Uyghur people who left back home and moved to like abroad have issues like with that kind of feeling. But you being with your friends probably helped you a lot to avoid those kind of feelings, avoid that kind of like missing back home too much. But with that said, mostly like Uyghur or were they Kazakh as well, or like having like people from the same country as you, or like us having
Hmm.
like same
Same
culture.
background.
Yeah, same background. Like, did that play like a big impact on you when you moved here? Because the cultures are very different, obviously, right? America and Kazakhstan are very
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, my friends, there was like one or two Uyghur, and the rest were Kazakhs. And yeah, I mean, as you might know, there are a lot of Uyghur people in Kazakhstan, especially in Almaty, where I'm from. So like we had a bunch of Uyghurs in my class in high school. Yeah, it definitely helped a lot. I think um, it probably wasn't the best for us being like really fluent in English. That's probably was the drawback of this environment. But otherwise, yeah, I think it was great. Having people from your own background just makes you feel less, I guess, maybe lonely. Yeah.
yeah. Because I know that many people who move to like different places, if there's like less Uyghurs, they get really sad because they start missing their culture. Not just
Hmm.
Uyghurs like specifically, but even other cultures, right? They start missing their food, their culture, and stuff like that. So having your friends with you, probably you guys like I don't know if there's a lot of Uyghurs in Houston or a lot of Kazakhs in Houston, but yeah, having friends probably a lot more easier of the transition, I was gonna say.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That helps a lot. I mean, that still helps. I have a lot of friends from Kazakhstan here, even now. And I mean, after all, these are still people from the same background as you, um, and having the diverse set of friends, I think, is the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of our listeners could, relate to you with that. So from Houston, so you said you were 17 years old and till now, can you tell us like what's been going on since then? So you finished your degree and then you started working immediately with Google, is that correct? Did you do any internships in between? Basically what I'm trying to ask is how did you get to where you are right now from? your university
Hmm.
career to now?
Yeah, so I actually was lucky to start having internships from the very beginning, from my freshman year. Because of that prior experience in high school, I knew programming, so the classes that we were taking in computer science, they were really easy for me because I pretty much knew most of the things. And my professor was impressed by me and a few other students, and he was like, "I have this friend in the oil and gas company, and there's this recruitment phase for internships. Why don't you guys send me your resumes and I'm gonna send it to him?" So we did that. Then we got interviews, and when we got to the interviews, and the company name was Halliburton. They do oil and gas. Lots of companies, lots of oil and gas companies in Houston. And yeah, he asked a really basic question for me, and he was impressed that I knew it. Um, but for me, doing those competitions, it was actually pretty easy. Um, so, anyways, I got in, and yeah, I spent in this company 2 summers, freshman year and then the sophomore year, and then for my junior year, I was actually still in the same company, but as a part time. So I used to work like less than 20 hours a week, um, and and then after my junior year, I got an internship at Amazon in Seattle. I worked in Amazon Web Services, one of the teams there. This was the first time I actually got the real like tech experience, because working in an oil and gas company as a developer, as an engineer, definitely feels very different, because you're just helping some processes that are built for oil and gas, like engineers and other people. Like you're sort of the helping force. You're not driving force. Uh, but that's different in tech companies. In tech companies, you actually like engineers are actually they have their impact is much wider. So yeah, I was at Amazon, and then after Amazon, it was sort of easier to get interviews after that. And yeah, so after graduating, I got an offer at Google. So I started there. I moved to California about 5 years ago. So yeah,
So you moved. So you did. And you worked at an oil and gas company. Is that correct? Oil and gas
yeah.
company in Houston, and then you moved to Seattle. Is that, or were you doing it from like a long distance
Oh,
there?
I just went there for a internship, summer internship.
It was an internship at Amazon in Seattle, and then you moved to California for your internship with Google. Is that
Yeah,
correct,
yeah.
or was
San
it a?
Francisco Bay Area. There's a small town called Mountain
So
View.
I
Yep.
so I know that you're living in New York now. So how did that process come about? How did you were you like moved to a different station of New of Google, or like did you just feel like moving there yourself?
Yeah. So what happened um, is I was working in California, and then I went on one business trip to New York, and I actually liked it so much, even though I've been to New York several times before that. But I went to the office. A part of my team was there. I met my manager, and then I stayed in a nice hotel, and it just that experience was so good. And I was like, okay, I wanna transfer here. I talked to my manager, and he was like, yeah, let's start this conversation. I think our director is going to be supportive, and so on. So it was in my thoughts to move to New York, but then something unexpected happened. Um, there was there was an accreditation problem with the school that I went to, um, and that led to the fact that I couldn't get my student visa extension. So it was basically a visa issue. So I had to move to another country. I had to leave the U.S. So I ended up moving to UK, to the London office. So I moved there, and while I was there, my work visa in the US was in progress. I was waiting for that, and then it got approved. So when coming back, I decided to come back to New York that time.
So you said you moved to New York after London.
Yeah, yeah. I spent about half a year at London.
So you've been in London for half a year
Mm-hmm.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you say that COVID has like impacted your work as a software engineer? Has that made any difference at all in your workplace, or like not at all?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, we're fully remote. I haven't even been back to the office since beginning of March last year, and we're not even allowed to in even to pick up our stuff. There's a strict policy. So I have a bunch of stuff left there at my desk. Hopefully, they'll let us come back and pick up those things soon. But in general, I personally never really liked working from home. I just never felt really productive at home, and I really like that atmosphere in the office when you can just walk around, talk to people, have some, I don't know, background noise, um, uh, then I don't know, grab a snack, get a coffee, just walk around, which obviously is different now. And in the beginning, I really wanted to go back, but as the time went, I think maybe in half a year or like 7 months, I started feeling like this is actually better for me now because you're not spending time for the commute. You're not. There was a big problem in the office to book the rooms for meetings. It was a big problem. But now there are no meeting rooms. Everyone is available, basically, if the calendar is free. So in that sense, it's good. But in general, in terms of my work, there's no difference. It's pretty much the same. The only thing is that what we do in my team is we have this 1 hour daily meeting just for engineers in my team when we just work. We discuss if there's anything we want to discuss, but otherwise we just mute ourselves. We turn off the cameras and we work. And then if there's something that we want to talk about, just unmute and then ask about that. That way, you can overhear conversations that you could overhear in the office. Because right now it's very high effort to talk to someone. You should either like actually ping them, like text them, or you should schedule a meeting with them, which is like high commitment. Because before you could just like turn it over and then ask a quick question and that's it. So we wanted to sort of work around that. And I actually started in a new team in April. So our team is fully remote. I haven't seen all but one person in my team in person. So yeah, it was challenging in the beginning, but I think we figured out how to actually benefit from it instead.
So do you think you guys would be going back into uh your office kind of in like anytime soon? Do you think?
Well, right now they're telling us that we're going to be back in September. It was a flexible work from home policy. Um, so we'll be working from the office 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week it's going to be optional work from home. So we'll see how that goes. And they may change they may push back the date from September to like end of the year maybe. And maybe they'll allow some people to be fully remote. We'll see.
Yeah, because if the cases get better, then you guys would probably go back. But if it doesn't, they push it back. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I think the hope is that like I think it's going to depend on the vaccination rate. So far, they're telling that the summer is going to probably be looking good.
I know that a lot of us are ready and excited to go back into our schools and
Hmm.
workplaces.
Yeah.
Um, so if in the next 5 to 10 years, what would you like to have accomplished? Because so far, I would say that you're a very accomplished person, right? You're working at Google. You got a job right after you finished your university career, and before that, you'd been doing programming in high school as well, competing in competitions as well.
Um, not to sound like too humble, but I think it's I don't consider what I have now as something that the like the top accomplishment. Um, but yeah, I always think about like what's next and what can I do. What I really want is to be actually always be growing, and like within Google. Currently, I'm in my third team, so I've transferred already 2 times. Um, because at those times, I felt like this new team is gonna bring uh, is gonna let me grow even more, um, different like set of skills. In 5 to 10 years, it's hard to say, but I do have thoughts about starting my own company at some point, because this has been something on my mind since I was in in university. Um, so we'll see about that. But so far, I think I'm still learning at work, and I'm having fun, and I really like people that I work with, and I think that's what's important. And yeah, so for now, I'm still here, and yeah, I'm I'm actually enjoying work oftentimes. So I don't really want to give up that.
Yeah. Okay, so you're kind of liking where you are right now and you're just taking it how it goes and you have plans, but for now, you're just enjoying it
Yeah,
as
yeah,
it goes.
yeah. I don't think I'm gonna be at Google for like a really long time. Um, but yeah, so far I'm liking it.
That's great. I feel like that's very hard in today's time. A lot of people have trouble liking what they do and most of the time just go into it because, peer pressure or maybe economical like financial reasons.
Hmm.
It's very nice to see people that actually like and enjoy what they're doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
I feel because I don't see much of. I'm a university student
Hmm.
myself, so I don't see a lot of that around my friends. I ask my friends, "Oh, what do you plan on doing after this?" They're like, "I don't know, man. I'm just gonna see where it takes me." And I'm like, "What do you want to do?" They're like, "I don't know. I'm just gonna see where it takes me."
Yeah, yeah. I think in general the term of the success term is an artificial term, right? It's something that people made up themselves. So being successful means this or that. But I think, and this may sound like too, I don't know, millennial, but I think people should try their best to find something that they're really good at and something that they really like doing. Um, Obviously, there are some needs like financial needs, for example, and this is totally understandable. But if there's a choice that like pays around the same amount, try to find something that you like. Yeah, and I've been lucky just to find that thing, at least for now. And I cannot say that I love every single minute that I'm working. Obviously, no. There are times that I don't feel like working, but I have to because it's my job. But like in general, I do like what I'm doing.
All right, thank you so much, Shirzad. Before we go, do you have anything you want to say to our listeners? Again, maybe any tips that you thought of while we were talking, anything, any websites or anything that they can look through if they wanted to, go through the same career path or anything.
Um,
or any like at all? It doesn't really even have to be about computer science.
um, no, I don't have anything off the top of my head. I do believe in the education system. So I know there are lots of boot camps these days that you can like you can finish this boot camp in a year or 6 months, and then you're proficient in some aspect of uh, engineering or development. But I think if there's time, if there are um, if like the financial situation allows, just to go to school and study computer science or like data science.
Thanks so much, Sherzat. It was a pleasure to have you in today. We will be having Sherzat's social media in the description. So if you guys have any questions, you guys have anything you guys want to ask him personally, you guys can do so. And again, thank you so much, Sherzat, for being a part of this interview.